Hello, everybody, or hello to those watching the recording later. We're here. Got a couple of people watching, one at least. We're really just chilling until some questions come up. I've already done most of my GAC setup for defense. Set that quite a while ago. Hey, Liam. Yeah, this is me here as Grand Arena Science. You guys, are you done with your defense setup for GAC this week? Or this session at least? Hey, Bit Dynasty, how you doing? Have you done your defense setup? Oh, you haven't set your defense yet, Liam? Are you waiting on some free time? Or are you trying to solve any problems? What's your opponent's like? Yeah, that's a nasty combo. KRU, Kylo, and Fox. I've seen some interesting setups with using Hux, General Hux as a leader, and then Kylo Ren unmasked, and sometimes Sith Trooper in there. Makes it a little annoying. What do you use for scouting? Do you use any tools like I don't know, Hot Utils or DSR Bot or one of the GAC management spreadsheets or something like that? I use the GAC manager myself. Holy crap, 8 battles. Yeah, well, I guess once you get over 2, it doesn't really matter, at least in banner-wise. Yeah, Hot Utils is pretty nice. I like that quite a bit. The one that I've been using, I was saying, is the, Hotbot Compare. I've been using GAC Manager. It's one of the links on the GAC website. Let's see, GAC Manager. Yeah, I'll just paste it here in chat as well. That's a pretty nice one. You have to do a little bit of configuration with the spreadsheet and allow a script to run or give it access to run, but you can do a lot of customization in terms of which characters you want to see from a compare perspective. Basti lead with JML. Yikes. Yeah, those Basti JML ones are annoying. It seems the only hard counter to that, the most likely to win is SLK. You don't really need anything besides SLK. Or General Skywalker with 2 of the 501st. I've used any 2 of the 501st, and I've always won, but it's been close sometimes. Bit Dynasty. Oh, facing General Skywalker, you lost? Ouch. R8 or something like that? Yeah, Liam, I try something new most of the time, especially in my current round of 3. None of the opponents are that great. The ones that I'm liking now, I tried it once or twice last 3v3 season, is a Newt lead with Django and B2, which is interesting because it sort of shuts down some of the like buff dependent counters. But yeah, it's gotten hold a couple of times. Besides that, I like the Hux lead team. I tried that. I oftentimes get holds with Ventress, Spirit, and Daka. Or sorry, no. Ventress, Spirit, and Zombie. I almost always get holds with that in the back wall, which is pretty nice. Bit Dynasty, that's a that's a nice way to go. My opponent attacked before me, which is nice. And I saw like a 61, something 61 when I looked at the score in the morning. And I was like, oh shit, that's going to be a hard score. But it was 25-61, so not that difficult to beat. Oh yeah, Liam, that's true. I guess if your gas is pretty slow, you do have problems with the anti-BAST JML setup. What speed do you run yours at? Mine isn't very fast. I think it's maybe 250 or 260 or something. 260, I want to say. But it's offense oriented. Yeah, Fatal has some great 3v3 ideas in that video. Or, oh, the gas cheese. Yeah, that makes sense. Some modding ideas. I always like have some interesting ideas when I watch Fatal's videos in terms of modding. One of the videos he had I think the last week of 5v5 was very interesting too. His CLS, like beefy CLS, I don't really buy into it being worthwhile to go full tenacity, but I think a fast defense set on CLS is awesome. I've been using that for like 2 or 3 months now. It's very nice. I follow sometimes, depending on what, I almost always have CLS on defense, both in 3s and 5s. But using him on offense in 5s, I never use him offense in 3s. I like the defensive, like 3 sets of defense mods with, I think it's just defense, defense, defense. Or maybe the cross is tenacity. I'm not sure. Let me take a look, actually. Because it helps a lot when you're just sitting in defensive stance. You have the additional TM gain. That's amazing. No, actually, it's just stacking. It's defense mods with defense primaries. I do have a crit damage triangle, but that's just because it was pretty good speed. Yeah, losing the protection is annoying. I had a similar problem. Normally, I just put a lot of offense on my General Skywalker. CLS on offense. Yeah, the thing is, I mean, on offense, I find CLS in 3s to be sort of a, I don't know, superfluous, because you're going to use Han and Chewie. There's so many other options with Han and Chewie to use a lead. You could use Kira. Wedge is great. Resistance Officer Leia Organa is actually pretty good too. Yeah, so I really don't have a lot of place for CLS in the Han Chewie setup. He's too much firepower. So I have used him sometimes actually with like Baze and Chivit, like to take out some crap, or even solo against some crap teams, but that hasn't happened for a long time at my GP level. So yeah, I could keep him for offense just with C-3PO and Chewbacca, 3PO and Chewbacca as well. But I find him better on defense. I tend to keep most of my GLs for offense, just so I can kill everything in 3s. There's plenty of teams that people can fail on that aren't GLs, so I keep mine for offense most of the time. Yeah, Wedge is nice. If you have Kira Relic, I would say she's also really good, especially against some combos, because she offers you some protection regen, and her stagger, her AoE dispel and stagger are pretty helpful also. Oh yeah, Old Ben is very nice. Yeah, that's a good idea. I've seen that. I think I may have seen it on one of your videos, Bit Dynasty, but not many other places. And usually most people have him relict as well. Or if they have Luke, at least, I'll have him relict. Yeah, that's a nice idea. And Old Ben for me doesn't really have a place, I think, in my 3s right now. Yeah, that's my biggest problem. I'm constantly looking for better defensive teams without it being a GL, because I really, I like to make sure I have enough offense to kill everything. And the GLs are really frustrating in 3s. Yeah, I've seen Old Ben a few times. I think it was popular like 3 seasons ago, where there's oh, that's interesting, Liam. Where Old Ben would be paired with Spirit and somebody else, I guess, because of the TM from Evades. I don't remember who. Yeah, maybe throw in 3PO, Liam. 3-pack Chupio, I like to call him. 3-pack Chupio, whatever. And C3PO go great together just because of the cooldown reduction that you can get from, or you can get for, yeah, maybe Spirit and Daka. But the cooldown reduction you can get for 3-pack for Chupio is awesome from C3PO. You're very naughty. Naughty. Maybe I shouldn't use that word. That sounds a little weird. Very unprofessional, Free. Or very, very Star Wars professional, maybe. Prioritization. Any questions, Free? What's your defense like? Do you have time to talk, or are you just alt-tabbing back and forth? Oh, interesting. Rex 5s and Echo. You know, I don't think I've seen those on defense in ages. It's usually a Rex lead or 5s and Echo or something under shock, but I don't think I've seen Rex 5. Oh yeah, Rex, sorry, I was misreading. I thought it was 5s lead. Yeah, Rex 5s and Echo is good, especially at lower levels. If you've missed one of your timeout teams, that's really tough to take out. The DPS teams don't do very well against it either. What do you put with Chimera? With Dynasty? Do you put like the Empire lineup, or does your alt have a Gauntlet Starfighter, or you drop in like a good starting for Chimera or Executrix is with B-28, TIE Advanced, Vader's ship, and Imperial TIE Bomber. Normally, if you put TIE Advanced and Imperial TIE Bomber together, it's very easy to take down TIE Advanced because he has just not a lot of health and protection. But if you have the B-28 in there, yeah, exactly, that's a great setup. If you have B-28 in there, he'll taunt as soon as the Sith ally goes below 100% health, which is just awesome. That's really nice. I think Executrix is better as long as Moff Tarkin is relict. Maybe even if he's not relict, but I personally think that when he is relict, the speed advantage helps a lot, because I don't remember the speed breakpoints off the top of my head. You can usually go before most, I think all of the Galactic Republic ships. Yeah, Oracle, that's a great point. I confess that I've done that before too. Not recently, but I think at the beginning of last 3 season, or no, the season before, I had a similar issue, and I ended up making like 47 points or 49 points. That was terrible. That's a good plan, Free. Yeah. That's one thing that's interesting now. I think Executors is better for defense, really. If you get the ability block off at the beginning, you can cause some timeouts. I think if you have Houndstooth, Chimera is better. But I wouldn't say it's like 100% one or the other. It's a complicated thing. Yeah, try out Tarkin sometime, Leon. If you have him at Relic now, put put down Executrix, as long as he's all, I'm assuming, obviously, all of his abilities are leveled up and everything. Yeah, I think it would be sort of nice to let it go week by week. I probably could have done that for this week of my Grand Arena. My opponents are, I mean, there's a couple of guys with 500,000 manners, but I outmod them primarily quite a bit. But I like trying different defenses. I think it's fun to, mostly to try out different things on offense, for me at least. Yeah, I think what I was trying to say earlier, I don't recall if I finished it, but is if you put in Houndstooth, especially with Chimera, unless you're getting bursted down by, I don't know actually. You could certainly do it with Galactic Republic. No, with Rebels. But yeah, with Houndstooth, I think Chimera is probably better. Houndstooth in the lineup. Yeah, I agree, but Empire is awesome on defense, especially when you can start with Gauntlet. Once your pilots are relic, I think you need the speed, so he goes first. Because normally, even against the GR fleets, he goes first. He'll always target Anakin with the buff immunity, and then you'll do your AoE attack. Maybe, if you're lucky, you'll kill TIE Advanced. You probably won't kill Gauntlet unless you're running both Ahsoka and Anakin in the opening lineup, which of course you can do. But if Gauntlet survives Negotiator's opening AoE, his second move is to cleanse, and then it's very tough to get through the Empire fleets, because right after the cleanse, I think, is when the first reinforcement comes in, and usually it's the heal, or if you have your tank, the Sith tank, Sith bomber, B-28 and reinforcements, we'll bring it in. I think not everybody. I think most of the fleet shard will have their Empire fleet up to snuff in like 2-3 months, just because everybody's going to have their fourth GL around that time. I think not everybody, again, high GP players that already had two when these two came out. Anyway, what are they saying? I think it'll be interesting. Right about people when they finish their Empire fleets is when the I forgot the name of Beskar Mando's new ship. That's terrible. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what it does. Yeah, Razor Crest. 700k opponent. Yeah, that sounds nasty. Example of how I scout. Yeah, sure. Actually, I'm taking notes for next time. I still the whole streaming thing I'm very new to here. I've never done it before, so definitely in the lineup is doing some sort of like screen share thing. Not screen share, but show my screen on the stream. Are you interested more just particularly in the way that I scout, Liam, or like scouting tactics? Because I know actually Calvin Awesome, I'm not sure if you're aware of him. He's a smaller YouTuber. He's really active on the Gambits server. And he just put out I think like part 5 just came out. And two, maybe 3 of the episodes, 2 of the episodes for sure, are about scouting, and he does a really good job. Would you be interested in hearing like more than one person's perspective? Like we could have a Q&A or something like this, ask the experts about scouting, and I could get Calvin and a couple of other folks in here who have a lot of experience with that as well. I mean, I'm flattered you just want to hear mine, but I'd like to make it as helpful as possible. Yeah, Bit Dynasty is pretty awesome. We wouldn't have grandarenascience.com if it wasn't for him. Or well, we might, but it would look like some 12-year-old did the programming. It'd be terrible. Well, actually, as a matter of fact, yeah, it would be nice to share my screen. Looking here on my PC, where do I have the list? Yeah, so one of the ideas, or not ideas, one of the things on the roadmap for Grand Arena Science is actually, it's not exactly scouting. Yeah, but it is sort of like after you, or a higher level one. I'm not sure, maybe you're the one that mentioned this to me before, but it's basically, it's a higher level of what to do before each fight, which we just put out of last week sometime, earlier this week. But it's more of what to do, I guess, before you fight, the scouting part. Yeah, it's a good idea. It's a very good idea. I'll add that to the list of projects. I mean, and I'll talk through it a little bit now. This is the perfect time. This is what it's supposed to be about anyway. 8 more minutes before this very brief live stream is over. Um, for me, well, I look at the GAC manager tool that I linked earlier. I think is awesome. Yeah, boots exactly, exactly free. Well, let me link to that as well. Anyway, the way that I scout is primarily um, using the tool. I'm terrible at doing two things at the same time, so let me get this little link. Yeah, this boots thing is just before each fight. It's not actually what you're talking about in scouting. So anyway, scouting for me is I run the tool. I have a list of like 20 or 30 characters that I want to compare speeds to. Although in threes, this doesn't really matter so much. It's mostly a fives thing for certain counters. Like, is my shot going to go before their DR or whatever? Um, and after I compare speeds, I think the first thing I look at is their offense and defensive holds and their lifetime points. This will just give me an idea of like, do I need to approach this match seriously? I really pay a lot of attention and set everything very carefully and fine tune each of my teams and counters? Or is this something that I'm more, I know I just have to set a good defense and as long as I one shot everything, or well, not, I obviously can't one shot everything all the time, but as long as I make sure I keep enough teams to give myself a solid counter to whatever he could put on defense, um, I sort of try and understand where in the range that's going to fall. So if it's somebody with very high lifetime banners, or very high defensive holds, or very high offensive wins, I'll approach it a little bit differently. So if it's, for example, somebody with a lot of banners and high offensive wins, I will pay a lot of attention to my defense, and I'll look back through like 3 or 4 seasons of their GAC history, and find out exactly what are the teams that they failed on before, or where did they get low banners. That pairs very closely. Again, this is for like really good opponents. That pairs very closely with looking at their offensive abilities. And a lot of players will use the same offensive teams, good offensive teams, but use the same ones over and over and over again. So I will find a counter or a team that takes one of those out of the equation or forces them. I don't know if they use CLS against Finn all the time. Well, maybe I'll put my Django. I'm talking threes here, like Django Boston Grief Up or something like that, or Django Boba. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is if they use one team and depend on it to kill a certain counter, I'll try and force them to use that in 2 or 3 places. No, not the GAC manager. If you go, for instance, you can do it right. Yeah, it's a great idea if I would share my screen. Just go to swgh.gg, go to, I don't know, go to your GAC history, and when you're looking at your GAC history, there on GG, go and click on where it has the date. It's the 9th, right? The 9th of March. So go back to the 2nd, for instance. And now if you look in the URL, it'll say GAC equals 53 if you went back to the one that started on the 2nd. So change that number to, I think the last 3v3 was 50. Yeah. So change that number to 50 and you'll be seeing your GAC history from GAC number 50. They're sorted by week. So week 50 of since SWGH.GG started taking a record. If you want to go even further in this little rabbit hole, cool. It's a very helpful tool. If you go to the Gambits podcast, well, actually, you don't even have to go to the Gambits podcast server. You can go to the tools of GAC Science. Go to resources, then tools on Grand Arena Science. And the 4th link, the one on the bottom, here, GAC tools. If you go there, look, the one on the very bottom, which is a tool from Dr. Pivot. Dr. Pivot is one of the very Excel talented people that is a follower, a watcher, whatever, of End All Be All, who's an awesome streamer as well. So he made the spreadsheet that End All Be All used and then modified it a little bit. And it's available on the Gambit server, which is a great server. Or you can just go to the link there and get it from there. And this will allow you to pull in the Excel spreadsheet histories exactly like what you're doing on the right now in GAC or swgh.gg. It'll allow you to pull all of the history into the spreadsheet and then do sorting based upon what teams they failed on, what teams they succeeded on, blah 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 blah. I've only used it a few times. It's frankly it's very intimidating, and there's very few matches that I have where I feel that is useful for me or needed for me at least, I guess. Frankly, most of the matches I win, it's because my mods. I have a much. I don't have great speed mods, for instance, but I have a lot of mods. I've invested a lot of, frankly, invested a lot of crystals into mods over the years. So I have a wide range of good mods. Not great ones, but good ones. And most people just have some really good ones. Okay, we're almost at the half an hour mark here. Any other questions before we go? I want to keep to our half an hour schedule. And thank you all for showing up. I appreciate it. I think I'll do it again. I like the idea of scouting, sort of give this a topic. And definitely, Liam, I'll do some sort of screen share so I can use my browser to go to different things and show people. No last questions? Alrighty. Thank you all very much for showing up on this first test stream. I'm glad I was able to get some helpful information. Yeah, going back in time is pretty awesome. Yeah, I'd like more people too. Next time I'll publicize it a little bit. I want to look at the stream afterwards and see how the sound quality was. and my stream quality too, because I don't know if you read the little note, but my upload bandwidth is really shit. So it seems like it worked all right though. All right. Thanks very much for showing up, guys. Have a great, I guess, day. Well, I know Bit will be having a good evening. He's in my time zone. But everybody else, a good, whatever time of day it is for you. Cheers.